If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two in conflict just the same, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you'll be a man also.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Today, we're going to be doing some testing on a fairly interesting piston upper. This is actually a 14.5, so this is not a pinned and welded setup. This is technically a pistol slash firearm, depending on how you look at it. So 14.5-inch barrel, not pinned and welded. This is the Wolf A1, also known as the Taiwanese T91, I believe. So it's a fairly interesting piston upper that pretty much just pins right onto your standard 5.56 AR-15 lower. So what we have right here, this is the Palmetto State Armory lower that I've used in, it's my oldest pistol lower pretty much. It has the trigger in here is actually the POF curved trigger, so it's like a 3.5-4 pound pull on it. Very, very crisp single stage trigger. But everything else, as you see it, is pretty stock. The optic that we're using today is the EOTech 512. And we're going to do about 200 rounds through it. We're going to dump it in the stream a few times. We're on a really beautiful piece of property here, and see if it continues to function. Now, one quick thing about the design, because again, this is a piston upper, but it does use a fairly standard bolt. So this bolt, as you can probably see on there, it doesn't have a gas key. It literally just has a welded striking surface. So it's designed essentially like a standard 5.56 bolt, but it's not. It's slightly different, which is kind of like everything else on this upper receiver. It's a little taller than your standard upper receiver as well, but again, it just pins right onto your AR-15 lower. And if you notice up front here, what looks like a front sight post actually doubles as the gas block as well for the piston system. So it is actually integrated. We do have a fairly heavy profile barrel. It does kind of slim down in the middle here underneath this fairly interesting handguard. This handguard unfortunately doesn't just pop off. You actually have to push out a pin to get it off, but it actually works really well. It does have a section on top where you can screw in like an M-lock rail, or sorry, a Picatinny rail, so that you can mount lights or whatever else you need to on top. But that being said, it is still a polymer handguard, so it's not the most secure thing in the world. In terms of the gas block, it's not adjustable, so it is just kind of one setting fits all. It has a very good front sight post. It's very strong, but again, it is built into the gas block itself, so it gets very, very hot. The piston system's pretty easy. All you have to do is flip it over, and then you can take out the whole piston assembly in one go, just like that. That's your entire piston assembly. Alrighty, so the first thing we're going to do with it, just like any of these kind of box to combat loads, it should be noted that I paid, I want to say $450 total delivered for this. So this is brand new. It really hasn't been shot at all. So we're going to go ahead, fire 5 rounds. We're using Hornady Frontier M193, really hot ammunition, so good quality ammunition for it. We're just going to fire 5 rounds, make sure that it's somewhat zeroed and functions reliably. So let's go ahead and get to that. Alrighty, so let's go ahead, put 5 rounds down. One thing to note, there is no forward assist on this upper, so kind of is what it is. Let's go ahead, just fire 5 rounds, make sure that it functions properly. Alrighty, 5 rounds pretty much in the red, all good. Now the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and throw it in some muddy water. Alrighty, so it looks like what we have is a failure to feed, although that should be mentioned, this is on the UTG magazine, which is not necessarily the best magazine in the world. Pretty easy malfunction to fix. Let's try and see if it happens on the Magpul P-Mag. Easy feeding. Alright, let's try that again. Basically, we're having some issues with steel-cased ammo. I'm going to read the manual real fast and see if there is actually an adjustment setting on here, but it seems to just not being putting enough gas through it to cycle the steel-cased ammunition right now. Alrighty, so we took it apart a little bit. It was definitely dry. There was no lubrication added to it whatsoever. The piston was really gunked up, so we did add some lubrication to it. We are using, this is 55 grain Tula, but if that doesn't work, we also have some 62 grain hollow points. It's already cycled 6 magazines of M193 perfectly, so it's probably just not quite clean enough to run really gross low-powered steel ammunition. So let's see how it goes now. So we got 55 grain Tula loaded up. We'll go ahead and put a couple rounds down. Yeah, it's just a little too much gunk in there. Like I said, no lube whatsoever, so we put in some lube and it's cycling just fine. So there were 8 magazines, a little bit over 200 rounds through the Wolf A1, straight from the factory, no lubrication, no cleaning whatsoever, except for, of course, where we were running into issues with the steel ammunition, but that's kind of to be expected. We actually ended up throwing it in the pond scum here like 7 or 8 times instead of just the 2 times. So we did quite a bit of that, and there was quite a bit of buildup on the inside of the receiver, again with no lubrication. The surface quality on the bolt is very, very gritty, so it's not very lubricious, I should say, so there's a lot of friction there. So it does need a little bit of lubrication to run, but these things, when they're set up properly, they just run and run. That's why they are the T91 for the Taiwanese military. Something I do want to say specifically about this barrel length, 14.5 inches, it's a really, really good mix of barrel length, so you get really good velocity without being super long, so it does feel like it has really, really good balance to it. The only downside is, of course, you have to run a pistol brace instead of a stock, and you can't have a vertical foregrip, though on the hand guard up here it's ribbed, of course, which is very nice, but it doesn't have anywhere for you to mount a hand grip or anything like that, so there's not a lot of options when it comes to grips and things out front. You do have the one spot on top where you can mount a 1913 or Picatinny rail, and then you can mount anything you need to on top. Furthermore, because of the design of the upper receiver, I can't actually mount this EOTech 512 any farther forward, otherwise it'll hit the rail cover right here where it kind of holds it in place. So because of that, I can't run a backup iron sight with an EOTech 512 unless I purchase a riser mount, then I can push it forward a little bit. But as it is, it's really awesome. So it does recoil slightly more than a standard 5.56, like a DI 5.56, because you do have more weight coming back and forth with a piston system. But what I really, really like about it is that weight comes forward and back really fast. This cycles super, super fast. So it feels like it recoils harshly and then comes right back down onto target. So you saw it there shooting from 60, 70 yards away onto a 2/3 reduced size target. You can fire 2-3 rounds a second and it pretty much just comes right back down on target very easily without any sort of crazy muzzle device. So the muzzle threads on here are actually 1/2 by 28. They're very standard size. So you could actually just throw on a regular A2 birdcage and it would actually shorten down your length by an extra 3/4 of an inch or so. So it's really simple to take out the piston system. This is the entire piston system right here. It's very hot and very brown black right now. This should be a very nice silvery color, but right now it's not so much. Very easy to take in and out and clean in the field. Toolless design. You could, if it was stuck a little bit, you could use you know, like a bullet casing or anything you had on you to get it back into position. You have a very, very durable, adjustable front sight. And of course, I would have a rear sight on here if I didn't have the EOTech 512. So that's pretty much it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did. Let me know what you guys think of this down below, or if there's any other kind of interesting piston uppers that I should check out. This is my first AR-15 piston upper, and actually I really, really like it, and I will be doing a lot of shooting with this guy. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace off.